date 5 December. It's the fifth session of this hall in Orange City Literature Fest. And timing for this session will be 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Mr. Anish Andheria, sir. So, Mr. Anish Andheria is a wildlife conservator. It's set up to preserve, protect, and conserve wildlife and fight climate change. Currently, WCT works in around 130 national parks. He is a member of both Maharashtra State Board of Wildlife and First State Expert Appraisal Committee for projects related to industries, mining, and irrigation in Maharashtra. He has been awarded the prestigious Carl Zeiss Conservation Award 2008. A wildlife photographer of repute, he has photographed some of the most remote wildlife reserves in India. He has co-authored 2 books of Indian wildlife and has contributed to several other books and publications. He is a trustee of the Conservation of Wildlands Trust and Climate Reality Project India, one of the most leading motivational speakers. And according to him, if his images inform the people of a world outside of their own existence, which runs independent of the machinations of Homo sapiens, his purpose as a photographer would be fulfilled. So, handing this session over to you, sir. Anish Andheria, sir.
Most people think conservation and science go hand in hand. But if you go back in time, so you go back to 1960s and 70s, and you look at how protected areas were declared, a lot of it was based on individuals who had some information about that landscape. And they went there, they had seen animals there. And they said that this area is important because the river originates from there, or there are tigers, or there are birds that come there. And under the leadership of late Indira Gandhi, our Prime Minister, a lot of these parks got declared. And when that happened, people in some of these parks were put in trucks and dropped outside. And that is how your parks were cleared of human beings. Okay, so about 50 years ago, we were talking about protectionism, which means either or. Where you have people, you have no wildlife, but where you have wildlife, you should have no people. We have moved from there to an era where you cannot talk about conservation without talking about people. Okay? So this is a case study. Wildlife Conservation Trust, or the organization that I work for, is a scientific think tank. We collect data from the ground, which means we also look at biological data in terms of animals, but we also try to understand socio-economics, because unless you connect economics with ecology, unless you ensure that the people who share their backyards with potentially dangerous animals and that they benefit from them, we cannot have wildlife in a country going forward, because we have protected pretty much whatever was there to protect by law. So there is Protected Area Network, PA network, which means national parks, sanctuaries, conservation reserves, community reserves. There is increasing resistance within the states to declare more parks. For instance, in Madhya Pradesh, for the last 5 years, not a single park has been declared. Maharashtra is different. That way here, some of the good bureaucrats who were interested in wildlife ensured that some areas could be declared as protected. But if you go all across, if you go to Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, West Bengal, there are large mammals there in elephants. However, they have no place in the hearts of people, because animals are considered to be property of the forest department. Why? Because the forest department has enforced protection. So gone are those days when the forest department alone can protect wildlife. We will have to have a system where humans who are out of the forest department, which means people who share their boundaries, start feeding into conservation strategies. Okay? So I will talk about one case study in the backyard of Tadoba Tiger Reserve, or it is the east of Tadoba. You all know it as Brahmapuri division. It is probably the highest density tiger population south of Corbett, outside protected area. So Corbett in the Lansdowne area has high density tigers outside. After that, I think Brahmapuri has more tigers per 100 square kilometers than any other forest outside of the protected area network. Next slide. Well, unfortunately, the slides are not looking the way they should, but imagine that the sky is blue. So, this is this gentleman's backyard. Raghu Chundawat has probably walked every single millimeter of this forest. This is the Panna Tiger Reserve. As you can see, there is a river, there is a waterfall there. Forest and water are directly connected. Water and farmers are directly connected, right? And so people and forest are directly connected. We are dependent on the forest for oxygen, for water, for soil, for minor forest produce, for wood, for germination, for pollination, right? The bees that live inside the forest also pollinate agriculture lands outside. 1/3 of all existing crops, vegetable, millet, whatever you call it, 1/3 of all crops on earth are pollinated by bees which are wild. And so a forest like this is not only producing water, collecting water, but it is providing food to people who are 300 to 400 kilometers away. Just an anecdote. If there was a banyan tree in Nagpur, and on that banyan tree there were 1,000 bats, flying foxes, the giant fruit bat. In one night, you know how much area those bats will either pollinate or germinate? 1,900 plus square kilometers. Because in a night, a bat can fly about 25 kilometers and back in search of food. So you will have a circle of radius 25 kilometers. 25 multiplied by 3.14. 25 square. 25 square is 625 multiplied by 3.14. So you're looking at almost 2,000 square kilometers, free of cost. So that is the worth of these forests. So when anybody talks about forests, it's not for tigers. It is for human beings. Tigers are a byproduct. We are just piggybacking on an animal which is charismatic so that poor people can survive on this planet. Okay? And rich people can do their businesses. Okay? For instance, a Reliance cannot have an empire if there is no water. Okay? So it is important for economics. Okay? Next slide. This is another beautiful landscape. This is down south, Hills. This is where Veerappan was hunting elephants. Not only Veerappan, a lot of politicians through Veerappan were getting sandalwood out. Veerappan was maligned, but there were a lot of people involved in there. But this forest has recovered now because now there is no smuggler that lives inside the park. This is Hills. Next slide. Grasslands. People think grasslands are wastelands. Even the government has called marshlands, grasslands, laterite plateaus as wastelands. Okay? And we are now trying to open up these areas for development. Next slide. This is what we call forest, and everybody will vote for this because this is a typical forest. But if the grassland ecology is such that they support the largest biodiversity of mammals that you can imagine. You know of Africa, right? So many different types of antelopes live there. So many different carnivores live there. It's all surviving on grass. Okay? So, yes, this also is important. This is Dudhwa. It is a border of India and Nepal in Uttar Pradesh. Next. Corbett Tiger Reserve. Next. Annamalai Tiger Reserve. The play of light, the play on these leaves, the soil, the fresh air. Whether you are in Uttar Pradesh or in Tamil Nadu, is the same thing. Next slide. And this animal is considered as a symbol of conservation. But forests supports much more. Grasslands, wetlands support much more. What all? Next slide. Lions. Next slide. This, I love this image because this is basically a pod of Pterocarpus. After few rains, the outer covering of the pod has started to degenerate and there are seeds inside. But as that happens, it actually, in a way, poetically shows you how the tree is going to look when it grows. It has this entire branch system on it. You know, it's a miniature form of a tree. It's a tree that is found all across South India. Next slide. And there are so many associations. This is a nocturnal butterfly feeding on honeydew from the scale insects which are being herded by ants. So we talk of herding as very anthropogenic thing, but insects like ants have been herding other insects for millions of years, successfully. So this is it's a tripartite association between various organisms, and these are all micro. This is a macro shot. So actually this is a grass blade. So all of this is actually miniature. Okay, next slide. Saw-scaled viper from Kaveri Tiger Reserve. Next slide. A chameleon, the concentric rings on the tail, one of the most fascinating examples of adaptation. Next slide. This is done by the gardener of the forest. So who is the gardener of the forest? The butterfly, the bat, the monkey, and the elephant. This is the excreta of an elephant. In it are seeds. These are evergreen trees. Several species of trees are dependent on elephants for propagation. Next slide. Lion-tailed macaque, making lion-tailed macaques on a national highway in Tamil Nadu. Next slide. Conflict is a perception. It is not conflict really. So when you see a tiger, some people and quite a few people in this room will go towards the tiger. And some of them will run away. But this is a rare room because you have a lot of people who love wildlife. But outside, even if a tiger passes at 200 meters from you, people are going to flee, right? So it's a perception. And so when perception is anti-wildlife, the only way you can change it is through hard facts about animals. Not because you are passionate. You can't say tiger ko bachao because wo bahut khoobsurat hai. That will not help, right? Therefore, science is very important. Next slide. And these are the forest guards who are protecting. They are the first line of defense when it comes to forests. You can see how extensive forests are and individuals like these. These are the true heroes. Awards are given to people sitting in the city, their officers, but these are the ones, unsung heroes who are actually fighting it day in and out. Okay? Sometimes their salaries get delayed by 6 months. Okay? In my organization, where everybody is earning well, if their salary gets delayed by 2 days, there are multiple phone calls made. Bhai, hamara loan is being paid. Aisa nahi hona chahiye. Their salary is hardly anything, yet they go without. So there are challenges. Next slide. Science. So what is this pen doing there? The pen is trying to understand the scale. What is the size of this excreta? This is an excreta of a leopard. again from South India. But you have to start understanding how to use simple science. Next slide. Again, a pen, you can see the canine marks on the neck of a cow. This is also done by a leopard. Next slide. Indirect evidence. The floor of the jungle is a book. Animals and birds write stories every single day. We should have the eye to understand what those stories are about. This is a gharial, and there are a lot of birds that have walked on the sandbank. This is in Katarnya Ghat. Next slide. And this is Jadui Chirag. It is called a camera trap. Simple technology. Today, a phone like this has a camera which is powerful enough to take pictures and get published. So these cameras are placed inside the forest in a very scientific, in a systematic manner to capture what is happening, because all these animals are very, very timid. They don't want to behave normally when they are with people. They try to run away. Next slide. So what do you find out? So this is a central Indian landscape that we have focused on. This is Melghat, that's Satpura, this is the corridor between Pench, Satpura, this is Bor, this is Tadoba, this is Brahmapuri, this is Tipeshwar, that's Kana, these are all corridors. So we are monitoring populations of tigers, leopards, wolves, and other large and small animals on a yearly basis or year. Next slide. So you get, these are all photos taken outside the national parks and sanctuaries, okay? This is just maybe 500 meters from a village. Next slide. Leopard with a monkey in its mouth. Next slide. Leopard with a tongue out looking at a delicious porcupine. But it is delicious for sure for a leopard, but a lot of leopards and tigers die trying to kill porcupines because the spine get stuck in their mouth. They may get septic. And next slide. Wolves. Wolves were considered to be nearly extinct in most of these areas, but when we started camera trapping, we got wolves in 80% of our camera traps, and we put one camera trap every 2 square kilometers outside. They are pretty much everywhere. They are low density, but they are outside almost everywhere. And that is the beginning of that perception for conflict, because it is feeding on a goat. You can see in his mouth is a goat. Next slide. Sometimes you get fascinating images like this. This is probably the race. Traditionally, the hare wins because it races with a tortoise. Here, the bat is allowing the hare to go and then it will overtake. Next slide. That's another wolf looking into the camera. There's another wolf. There are actually 3 wolves in this photo. You can't see it clearly. Next slide. Next. And there are people who are dependent on the forest for cooking. They are not selling it. In these villages, we know them. It is for consumption because every day they need to eat. Therefore, they have to cook, right? Firewood. Next slide. Forest produce, mohwa. This is important food source for many of these poor communities. Next slide. And with technology, they have faster ways of taking wood out. Now there are bullock carts that they are using, motorcycles. We have several photos with people, a dead pig on a motorcycle. Okay, next slide. And so now, so again coming back to this landscape, next slide. Let's focus on the Brahmapuri side. So that circle, you can't see clearly, but that's where Brahmapuri is. Next slide. So these spots that you see, so this is, on the left is Tadoba, that side is Brahmapuri. All the red spots are where our camera traps have photographed tigers. Tadoba is about 600 and some square kilometers with a buffer of about 1,000 square kilometers, 1,600. Brahmapuri division is 1,100 square kilometers. So they are pretty much of the same size. The density of tigers inside and outside is the same. Okay? There are 44 plus adult tigers and more than 30 cubs living outside. Okay? Next. And we look at all these landscapes from all in the 8 states in central India through remote sensed data. That is, we look at images from the satellite and we see how land use change is happening. So what you see on the right is a river, and that river in 2000, go back. That river in 2004-5 was flowing. Then the river has been dammed now. And this is the Ghosi Khurd dam, which is a huge dam. People who live in Nagpur know about this dam, not very far. And on both sides, that reddish, what you see, large patch is Umred. On the other side is Pauni. So that is Umred, Pauni, Karandla sanctuary now. But there is a huge water body. So it has, such things are hampering movement of wild animals. So everything we do so that our crops can be stabilized for our own development is hampering the forest or movement of animals in some way or the other. Next slide. So again, you can't see actually, but it's unfortunate. But all these red spots, you can't see them, but there are many more if you see on that photo. That is forest degradation. We have measured degradation over the last 20 years through satellite images, and nearly 30% of the forest is badly degraded in just last 20 years. So what is classified as forest? What is classified as forest is also degraded. Okay, so that we must understand. Fragmentation because of railway, roads, dams, and because of degradation, forest is going. So the carrying capacity is going down. Next slide. Fire. This is again a map showing fire. Almost all these areas, even inside the tiger reserve, burns because people burn it for fodder. And these are fires that have happened because of control burning. When they burn for widening the road, some of them spread and they burn the grasslands or bamboo forests inside. Next slide. And then this is all the blue spots are settlements. There are 605 villages in Brahmapuri Forest Division with 44 tigers. 2 minutes. 44 tigers plus 33. So you can imagine nearly 70 tigers live with 605 villages, and every day a tiger needs to eat something. And generally they kill large size animals. So you can imagine the kind of interaction tigers have with livestock or with people. Next slide. These are again 3 square kilometer blocks, and where you have human disturbance. So if they are white, then the human disturbance is minimal. But all other shades is where we have, you can't see again, but there are at least anything more than 10 photographs of human beings in 20 days is the lightest color. In some of the places, it is more than 100 photographs of people in 20 days. So that's the startling land use that's happening in this area. This is just a sample, but all across India, our territorial forests are going faster than you can. In fact, the damage on territorial forest is far more drastic because of fuel wood collection than a linear infrastructure, like a road or whatever. Next slide. And this is where tigers are. So all these, you can see the captures, 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8 to 16. So you can see that there is direct overlap between people and wildlife. Next. And this is the conflict. In 2014-15, 64 people were injured because of wildlife. Tigers contribute. The first row is tigers, then leopards, sloth bear, and you can see the maximum injuries are because of wild pigs. This is from government data. And so every year, progressively, you have more and more conflict, and that is because the forest over years is getting more degraded. And you can see this from indirect evidences. So there are a lot of these data sets available with the forest department, which reveals such things. When such things happen, how can you expect that people will not put pressure on the politicians to cull or to kill nilgais or